US anthem. Next. You need to sing. Don't sing this. Don't worry. You have to memorize it. What I'm making you have to memorize. Okay, go on. No singing, no cheating. No cheating. Don't excuse yourself if you beat them. Just them and tell them, shut up. Thank you very much. That was. So we are very glad to have one remit as our partners, and we really appreciate your the kind of job you're doing. They have not paid me to talk to say this. You person who is talking around the corner there, can you keep quiet? Yeah, I'm talking about you, Joshua. Yeah, let's keep quiet a little bit. But this is very important, please. Yeah, one remit has not paid me to talk about this, but they've come in to, they've sponsored Kessa in a very good tune. I will not tell you about that because it's a very good tune about music. You need to appreciate them because they've done a good job. And I'm saying that they've not paid me to talk about that. So, if you're not using one, we're using other services, you might need to consider about what remit. I've tried that. The simplest one. So I'll play this video and then we move. Okay, the sound. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out the volume. Give me a second. Click on this. You can strain.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mose, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. As I said, my name is Girona. This is my boss right here, as I call him, because he keeps me straight. Along our team, we have a wonderful team. We work very well together. I want my executive to please stand up for a second. Yes, Dr. Omar. That's our treasurer. She keeps on money. She kept the number one very well. Our secretary, Dr. Loni. You've been getting all the emails. I will thank you. Dr. Again, this is the team that we've been working tirelessly. We've been meeting every week for the last almost one because we knew we had to be here, but by the grace of God, as my pastor Chen says, we are here today. We want to thank World Remit for sponsoring our dinner. And I'm going to share a little story with World Remit. I was using the other company, I'm not going to say a name, but I was using it for a while, and then one time I made a mistake and I put one digit. I normally send my mom money. But this time for the performance, the money was going to somebody in Nakuru. So I called them, and it was a lot of money, I love my money. So my mom never, like I said, one is sweet, I couldn't asante. I've been saying money, she normally says thank you, I got them. And I said, hey mom, did you find me to just look at you? And I said, well, when you minister out. So I realized the money was going to this young man in Nakuru, and he was very happy waiting for that money. It was a lot of digits that I couldn't draw. And I said, mommy, so every time I'm going, I just put mommy, and the money goes to this guy in Nakuru. So I called that company, I said, can you please change? They said there's nothing they can do. So then I switched to World Running, and I've never regretted it. So I switched to World Running because they take care of you. For those of you who use World Running to send money to you can actually send money with a credit card. If you're broke some days, you can take money, you can swipe your credit card and send it to World Running. So thank you again, my dear sister. I call her my sister because I just fell in love with this lady from the day I met her. Rispa, everyone, please stand up. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. So she has fed us here today. Thank you so much. Yes. So we thank this dinner spot by World Running. Without further ado, I will introduce our speaker for the night. We have a great program. We will have our guest from Kenya speak later on. Yes, okay. My bodyguard, right? So I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight. It's Dr. Sam Bora. Dr. Sam Bora, it's so small, I can't breathe. So we have other sponsors who have sponsored the event, but this dinner we have not mentioned them because this dinner is powered by World Running. Our speaker tonight, we'll go back to that. Our speaker tonight is Dr. Sam Bora. This is this one. That's our secretary. So Dr. Sam Bora is an associate professor of counseling and department chair at the University of North Texas. He's a licensed professional counselor. He's a supervisor in the state of Texas, specializing in counseling with individuals, couples, families, and teenagers. Dr. Bora holds a PhD in counseling with a specialization in child, adolescent, and family counseling from Texas A&M University. That's where you're visiting, I think, next week. Yeah, all visitors from Kenya, you're going to this place. Is that where they're going? Oh, my bad. I apologize. The same system, that's what I thought. Currently, Dr. Bora is an associate professor of counseling and chair of counseling programs at the University of North Texas, Dallas, as well as a private practice. He's involved in research on immigration and has extensive experience working with immigrants from diverse backgrounds. He's a native of Kenya. Dr. Bora is a popular presenter in conferences, churches, workplaces, and small groups where he addresses a wide variety of topics and of interest to immigrants. I have known Dr. Bora personally, so I need to read from that. Dr. Bora and I have come a long way. We went to Kenyan University together, and I have several with him. And I also went to school with his wife, her beautiful wife, the late Julie Curry. She was actually my assistant games captain. So I've known them for a very long time, my good family friends. And Dr. is a well-sought speaker across the board around the college. It could be he's one person to go to a radio TV station. He's a great man of God, he's a great speaker. And he's one person that we all run to in our community, even with our students. We have a test for our students and him and some of our friends, Pastor teach. So those are the people that we go to when our students run into, we have issues that, especially men, when they want to have those man-to-man conversation, they run to Dr. We reach out to Dr. So again, welcome. He actually picked Ambassador Mulu. Yes. So thank you so much again. Join me in welcoming Dr. Sam Bora.
I'll move it here. Let's see. I think I can move it somehow. Okay.
Trust me.
Very good. Good evening. I'm not sure you can hear me from the back, can you? Okay, if you can, if I can see your hand raised up, I will know that we are together here. If you can give me a minute to settle some technical issues here, and I'll be right back with you. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Let me say good evening again in a more formal way. Good evening. It's good to see all of you. It's evening. We've had a good dinner, and thank you for the organizers of this dinner and the whole event. Before I start, I think I'll be remiss if I do not make a comment on the national anthems that we sang. As we sang, I was reminded of Nelson Mandela when he said, when you speak to a man or a woman in a language that doesn't belong to them, you speak to their mind. Yeah. And when you speak their language, you speak to their heart. And when Swahili was sung this night here, I could tell the difference between the language that we grew up with and the language that we paid money to be given. And yet tonight, I wish to invite us to, I think we've had presentations all day, and therefore I don't want to assume and then say or then suggest that I'm going to present. I want to invite us to a dialogue tonight. In my culture, once eaten and they've drunk evenings, it's time to go under the tree. It's from where wisdom is drawn and gleaned after it. In the African understanding, we do not share a meal because we lack a meal in our homes, but we share a meal to show fellowship. And so I do not want to present to you tonight. I want us to come as a family that could sing the same song in Swahili and dialogue tonight. And so I invite the presence of your minds, not the academic minds, but the cultural and the social mind. And I invite those minds because of this, that for a long time, we have been battling with understanding that it's not okay for us to be okay. And I hope at the end of this presentation tonight, I'll have changed that and have a paradigm shift, if we can, if you may, to begin to say, indeed, it's okay not to be okay. And I think the dialogue has taken a long time coming, or it's been a long time coming before we get to that point. My introduction, my outline, if you can go to the next one, you can follow me. That's why I'm here. I'll introduce what I'm going to be saying tonight. Then I'll look at mental health, identity and role, and perfectionism, stigma, and then some considerations as to what can we do after we've talked about it. The talk back home is not different from the talk here. Then we all look back, and I hear this across the board, that gone are the good old days when things were okay. When we raised kids and everything went well, when we knew what we wanted and we got it, we seem to be lost at how different things are becoming for us today. And as we do that, I'd like to go back from my profession and ask the question, what went wrong where? Or, I hold it. The two of them? Oh, okay, wow, this is two of them. This makes me like one of the politicians in Kenya. I'm not a politician at all, but I guess the other one serves for something else. But at any rate, we have battled to look back and bask in past glories as to how life prepared us in a different direction. But we don't seem to have that anymore. And I think for a long time, we may have been hiding our heads in the sand, even knowing that things are not going okay. And that's some of the things I want to talk about tonight here. But permit me, if you will, to borrow this quote as the presentation thought for tonight. And I took this from Peter Abraham's book, Mind Boy. Mind Boy was a set book back in Kenya in the 90s, and some of you may have read it or taught it. But from that book, I borrowed this, and I've carried it through my life. That we are, first of all, human beings. Only secondly, and less importantly, anything else. Let me go back on that. That we are, first of all, human beings. And only secondly, and less importantly, anything else. Oh, how I wish we could drill this and have a hypnosis in Kenya and put this in every Kenyan's mind, that they can wake up one morning and say, we are first of all Kenyan, and only secondly, and less importantly, anything else tribal. Only if we could do that. I wish I would live to see the day when Kenyans can say, we're first of all Kenyan. But that is not the point tonight. Allow me to use this presentation thought to say, before we become professors, we're human. Before we become women, we are human. Before we become men, we are human. Our humanity takes precedence, but it's lost on most of us, where that humanity should be placed in our lives. And tonight, maybe we can make a dent at placing it where it belongs. COVID-19, as you know, brought a lot of isolation and took us into homes and places. But above all that, it revealed and exposed mental health and relational challenges that we didn't realize were existing. And as much as we're still battling the COVID-19 pandemic right now, I want to mention this, that in every tragedy in life, there is an opportunity in it. And as much as this has been tragic, the opportunity has been, we are not prepared mentally, and our mental health is wanting. But it also revealed relations are superficial at a very large extent. When COVID sent us homes and put families together, spouses realized that they had long ceased to be spouses. And parents did not know who their kids were. But there was an enemy outside that they could not walk away like they did before. When bars were closed and you had to be home in time, you didn't know what to do. COVID exposed a very tender part of our lives that we've not taken care of, albeit a very stinking part of life. Therefore, don't go back, still stay there. Because of that, WHO mentioned about anxiety, all decreased. I speak from experience and I corroborate what they said. As a therapist, we've been inundated by people coming for help that could not think of coming for help. And everybody is anxious, depressed, stressed out, suicidal, things that we would not think about before, abusing alcohol and everything else. It has been a challenge for us as we have been seeing a lot of people. So this is true that most of us here, if we at some point now, will realize that to a large extent, the last 2 years have seen you stressed than normal. The last 2 years have seen you more depressed, if you will admit it, and very, very, very maybe have anxiety issues. Most of you, well, you're given a lot of time to work from home, and you thought you could be home and sleep. You didn't sleep enough because insomnia was an issue because of stress. Why should it not be? The person next to you is there. But the bigger challenge has been affected, just like all the time, are the minorities. While everybody else was affected, it's not been lost on all of us that the minorities were the most affected. And why is that? Because we were not consumers of mental health services to begin with. And when the pandemic affected our mental health, we did not have the intervention to address that. And therefore, we were left outside crying, and we got the brunt of it more than anybody else. And therefore, I can summarize and say the silence behind mental health is the elephant in the room that we want to look at tonight. And I put us in the dialogue of that real quick as we move on. What's mental health? Allow me to just define it generally and just say good mental health is not just the absence of mental illness. It's not just the absence of wazimu. That's why you don't go get help, because you don't want to be branded as mentally ill. But the absence of mental illness does not make you mentally healthy. And because of that, it's therefore a state of health that makes one blossom and prosper and fully enjoy life. Isn't that what we want? I've posed many times in my presentations and challenged families and everyone else. It's not just enough to live this life. You want to make sure the adjective of live this life happily. We've come here to experience life, not to battle it. But if your mental health is not in the right place, then it will not blossom, it will not prosper, you will not fully enjoy what that life is. And therefore, go to the next one, please. So mental health, therefore, let me sum it up real quickly. Because of what I've just said, mental health, if you can look at the gamut here, it covers everything that you want in your life. Mental health touches your emotional, psychological well-being, all of them, your thinking, feelings. But this is maybe the point that I hope you do not lose here or don't miss out. It determines how you handle stress. It determines how you relate. And you can underline that. There are relationships, friends, and family. That's why I was under the tree, because I did not want to be formal in any way. It's only friends and family that are invited to the family tree outside the house. And in that metaphor, I can say, friends, we have to look each other in the eye and say, all is not well in our relationships. What about the statistics that we see across Kenya? Every newspaper has suicides. PS students are killing themselves at school. I just read the other week, a student in Molo that somebody found him cheating with his wife and killed. And I said, they look like an isolated case, but it is not. It's a question of what Americans said many years before, that we have finally found the enemy, and the enemy is us. Only at that point can we understand that we may want to go back to our own mental health and address it and say it's okay not to be okay. Then we can help at that point. But above all, it brings us to the point of making the right choices and bringing the equilibrium. You are only able to do what you're doing because the equilibrium is maintained in your mind. When that equilibrium is lost, when the homeostasis of the balance in your mind is lost, then the rest is what we see when we run amok. And therefore, the care of mental health cannot be overemphasized. But why then, as friends and family, and this time you can wear your gown as scholars, why do we shy away from addressing this? I want to look at your complex heritage, and I want to look at who you are as a professional scholar. I want to look at who you are as an African, as a religious man, if you are a woman, as a tribal entity or human being or a person, as an immigrant, as a diaspora. Why do I say this? our identities gives us the roles that are expected of us to fit into it. That is why when you see me and they tell you he's a professor, that role has to be fit right in your mind to say, yes, he looks like one. If I do not look like one, you will say, are you sure that he's a professor? If peers and ambassador are here, were introduced as peers and ambassador, and they do not fit the role in your mind, there is a defined role in your mind on how every identity is fit right. And they stand and their language is wanting, you will say, how are they a peer as an ambassador? I'm glad that when you spoke this morning, Ambassador, I was like, the man fits the job. But how does it tie into what we're saying? It's from complex heritage. There is a way, if you can go back, there is a way that I'm a scholar. I'm expected to always soldier on and do not show any weakness. Because I'm an African man, men who are here, listen to this. You have tears because they're supposed to be cried out. A lot of our men die of stress and stroke because they do not want to fail the test of manhood and cry. You can't cry none of this loved ones that you have, go cry at night. It will still relieve your heart. Anyhow, the African identity, you fit away and you'll say, I'm an African man. I'm an African woman. I will not go for help. That is weakness to our own detriment. As a religious person, religion is even better because you can cry to a higher power. As a tribal person, that is when we find somebody saying, I'm a Kalenjin, I'm a Nandi, I'm a warrior, I'm a Shingororo, whatever you want to say. And whatever other titles you have, when you try to fit that identity and role in your mind, as good as it is, I'm not saying it's bad, but it could impede your power and your willingness and courage to seek help. That is why I want to say, in most cases, even when we've come here as immigrants, now the pressure piles on you. I am in the US, I am an immigrant, I am this and that. I'm supposed to send money home, I'm supposed to show that I don't have any money, and you go through all this. All that is played in your mind as stress levels. What keeps you going? Because I identify with that role that is sanctioned by my community and my society, and I cannot fail because it's not okay not to be okay. We'll change that tonight. We fear that things will fall apart, and we make concerted efforts to hold it together. But there's something many times still fall apart. And because of that, you can look at the next part, Then, I think you are not moving with me, are you? Okay, good. I guess you're listening. Now, in that role is a big part of a scholar that I want to demystify for us tonight. It comes with perfectionism. That you want to be perfect. And so our positions, we ambassador, peers, and everybody else, professors, those positions are equated with perfectionism. That is why when someone comes to your office and they're looking for a mchango, you cannot say, I don't have it today, because that position cries out perfectionism. And you cannot be less than perfect. You will fail the role that's supposed to be fit right in somebody else's mind. This perfectionism drives us and pushes to the wall, especially those people who have come here. I talk to so many people in this country, and the tears that they cry, they say, I cannot do it. I say, tell them that you cannot do it. No, I cannot tell them that I cannot do it. Why can't you tell them you cannot do it? They'll think I'm weak, and others came to make money and I came to play in the US because of perfectionism. But I want to say that perfectionistic standards are admirable and dangerous at the same time. They're admirable to become who we want to be. But at the same time, they're dangerous because they stress us and not give us room to be human first. You get stressed out and you get upset, you get all those feelings, not because you are a professor, but because, first of all, human. And only secondly, anything else. It's at this point that I want to put these parts so that you can continue to think about it. I have and continue to tell people that I'm not. Thank you. I think that's better. Now you can go sit down and listen.
Thank you very much.
Good. This is what I say, and I want to repeat it here. That if you can buy this, we'll be moving to the right dialogue. I am not a professor who happens to be Sam. I am Sam who happens to be a professor. The place where we put our role and our title becomes a problem. It becomes a source of stress. And this is why, for those who are here, my is that the service that you render as an ambassador, that you render as a PS, be much, much bigger. Only then can you be humbled by the humanity on which it is your very basic definition point. If we understand that we are first of all human, and only secondly, anything else, this will be different. So perfectionistic issues become an issue for us because society expects us to be answers to everything because we finally got a PhD. I'm Sam who happens to have a PhD. I'm not a PhD holder who happens to be Sam. And because I'm Sam first, I'm human. And sometimes I don't have any money in my pockets, but it's okay. And because I'm Sam first, sometimes I don't have the answer, and it's okay. Sometimes I'm stuck as a therapist, and this is a self-disclosure. I have my own therapist because I want to be a consumer of my own product. If you worked for me in a dealership and you sell Toyotas, and I find you not driving the Toyota, I'll fire you. Because I want you to be a consumer of your own product. But when we get to the apex of this life and of these positions that we have, we retain talk, but not the walk. And talk is cheap. But when we come down to say we are first of all human beings, it's only at that point that the walk becomes real. And we walk our walk. And we model to the kids that we are human and we get stressed out and we make mistakes and we are not our mistakes. At that point, they will not kill themselves because of the pressure. They kill themselves because we find them to be human. We've defined theirs or their failure. This is the task of the Ministry of Education, that we have to go back and that we are not only interested in the A's they get. I can fix education anytime, but I cannot fix character when they're past some age. That's why the Jesuit priest said, give me a child until 7 years, and I'll give you a Catholic for life. Give me a child in these formative years, and I'll give you a sound mental mind for life. Now, because of the challenges that we have of perfectionistic issues, we therefore value our achievement at all costs. This affects all our lives, and we cannot support them. I think you are doing a better job than me. Let me listen here. But okay. The dilemma then when we have the perfectionistic tendencies, number one becomes that we stigma against mental health. Why? Because if we are to own up that we need help, then the weakness kicks in and we're scared to go there. We will go out of our way to maintain the persona that is on our faces, to keep the mask on. And this becomes an issue because the dilemma becomes a shame that comes with perfectionist tendencies. Now, here is the problem. Because of stress levels that affect us at that point, the dilemma becomes we numb our emotions. And instead, we have something that becomes an excuse at once. We can float our high academic achievements. And I can say, I've published so many books. I can say I'm the chair of this. Most of us are chairs, including myself. I can say I'm this, I'm peers, I'm ambassador. Why? Because we can easily go there and get the accolades of society, but be very empty in the inside. That's why, for many people, when life comes to an end, and I ask this question, what if the focus of our lives has been a mistake? Many people get to that point and realize that. And they realized that I rather would have been able to be human. That is why most people who get older, you have parents who are in their 70s and above, even 60s and plus, they cease to pretend to be they were pretending to be. Because they've pretended for far too long and it did not pay any dividends. And you find them so real and you're like, where were you when I needed you like this? Justice and society. I want to invite before we then we can go in life. All your achievement. We can blossom and come out in a bigger way than we ever would. It takes more energy to build. Therefore, I want to ask that as much as we've built our emotions, all us here, how successful have you been? When the lights and you are in your bed, how successful are you? We're not. We're at a very high risk as professionals here because we avoid things, we work so long hours, we have sleepless nights, we neglect our relationships, and this is personal. I see so many immigrants. And the number one problem that we're facing in this country, and you are facing it in Kenya as well, is that marriage is not holding anymore. Little wonder why our kids give you problems, peers, when they get to school. We cannot plant bananas and harvest beans. If we choose to jump in the swimming pool, we choose to be wet. But we jump into the swimming pool and want to come out dry. If our kids have been swimming, they'll come to school wet. We will not blame them for being wet. We need to dry the swimming pool. I see all these families and I cry out from my heart because I fear that because of not defining ourselves and running away from things when they are not okay, we do not want our kids to come out as not okay because I'm a professor first before I become a parent. What will people say when the professor's kid is abusing drugs? What will people say when Boris' kids who's doing all the workshops are in trouble? They can be in trouble because they are first of all humans. If we allow ourselves that, we can fix them. This is what Khalil Gibran said in his book, The Prophet, that our kids are not our kids. They are just products of life longing after itself. They come from us, but they are not for us. And we should never give them our dreams. They may never be like me, but for heaven's sake, I would look at them as first of all human beings who can make mistakes. And therefore, it becomes hard for us because of our long hours of working, our sleeplessness, and we have neglected our relationships because we cannot stand to be said that we failed because in our minds it's not to be okay. But tonight, I want to say it's okay not to be okay. Only at that awareness level can we go out and seek help. Obama said this very clearly, that we have not inherited this life for ourselves. We have borrowed it from generations to come. We have not come to the US to get green cards and citizenships for ourselves. If that is all we came to do, we would rather have stayed back home. But we've come to this country and we've borrowed it from generations to come. But we will not be able to give them anything if our mental health and our pretense that it's not okay to be okay holds water. If it does continue, we have nothing to give this generation that is coming up. As we continue here. See? I think I'm actually not doing right. I should have. What did I do?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, good. It's okay not to be okay, right? Go back, go down, go down, go down. There you go, there you go. Because of, thank you, it's okay not to be okay. So we have a stigma about mental health and not being okay. And we have stereotypes about mental illness. This is where we confuse the two. Let me just briefly sell you this idea. We have the sickness model, which we can look at it as mental health retardation. But we have the wellness model, that even when you are well, you still need help. You cannot be given medication to fix your marriage. If that were true, we'd have billionaires among counselors today. You cannot be given medication to fix your kids. And because of this, we want to say, when I go for help, it's not because I'm not okay, but I need this help as I continue. And let's go back to our cultures. This was taken care of very well when we were growing up and back in the generations that have passed. This is when we had a lot of our own counseling and therapy in the villages. You sat down with your grandmothers, those who are older here, and they just poured their wisdom. They just poured their proverbs. They poured all these tender willies, and they were helping your mind. They let us play in the villages, and in doing so, we were able to actually connect with our friends and understand that failure is an option. These kids in this country do not know that failure is an option. And when they fail, they go and commit suicide because we have not taught them that. So we had this in our culture, or we lost it somewhere. And therefore, we think that mental health is associated with shame, weakness, and embarrassment. Not for me as a professor. I'll stay away from that by all means. Not after I flourish that gown around. Not after I am the peers or the ambassador. No way. Those will not be found in me, even though they exist inside me. But I'll make sure I cover them by all means. Therefore, what happens at that point, if you can move to the next one, is that anxiety and stress becomes big. Let me just give those things that anxiety is okay at lower levels. That's why when you are anxious before you take an exam, you pass the exam. So there's some anxiety level that will push you to achieve. But it's anxiety level that actually is detrimental. And this is when we have a lot of worry, fear, panic, irritability, non-concentration, sleeplessness, racing hearts, muscle tightness. Look at the paradox of this. These things will make me less productive. And I want to be productive because that makes my name and my position higher. So I jeopardize and actually sabotage myself even before I get started. This is the case of mental health. That to the extent that I've mentally health is the extent that I actually do more with less time. I'll do more and come home and have a good sleep night and be with my kids. Only if I'm actually mentally okay. That is why it's okay for us to say, when I'm not okay, it's okay not to be okay. I'll go for help. Next. I know my time is going. The other one is depression in a big way. And this has become a big issue. And I see a lot of this. Not that I've diagnosed anyone, but this one has different areas because sometimes this could be from inheritance, heredity, so genes, DNA. Sometimes it could be situational. The bigger part of what we have in the society is actually situational, and we have depressed moods. When we are depressed, we lack energy most of the time. And many of us here, if we were to call a spade and not a big spoon, we lack that most of the times when we feel depressed. COVID brought that out so much. And I've said it's okay to look at that in the eye and change it. We have a sense of worthlessness or guilty most of the time. It is at this point that you find people becoming suicidal because they are feeling worthless, feeling that they cannot do anything. They are feeling that they're just nothing. And at that point, it doesn't make a difference whether I live or I die. Now, by the way, for our schools in Kenya, I'll get to that point. It's important that we teach our populations to be able to identify issues of suicide and self-harm. If they know how to identify, they can actually help them to refer to the hospital. But most of us in the population, even here, don't know what to look for. We don't know what to say. When somebody becomes suicidal, we run away and we don't want to mention death. We have a program that we teach around the country that anybody can go. But what this country is trying, and Texas signed up for that, is to teach the population, all the citizens, to be able to identify when people are not okay and to have the right conversation and words with them, to hold them until help arrives. And therefore, we have depression that comes in. Now, having said this, we know that we do not want to be okay. But allow me to slow down and launch something now as I finish towards the end in your mind. When we want to always fit into what we've always been, it's almost like we're saying we are products of time and culture, which we are. If right now I was to sing the songs of the 70s, I can tell when each one of you grew up, because when your song comes up, you will start nodding and dancing. Because you are a product of your time and culture. However, we are not only products of time and culture, we are also creators of our environments. This is the point where we have the audacity to say, I will create what fits my new environment, and I will look change in the face and accept that change may be the only constant in this life. But then get the skills to navigate through that change. Our problem is not that change will come, because it will. Our problem is the skills and the to navigate through the change. And we sit down and cry over things when they've changed. Can you imagine that I was 5 pounds one time? But because of change, I'm not 5 pounds anymore. We have a bigger deal to help ourselves to say, how do we navigate change? Allow me to borrow two minds that I've enjoyed to always look at in life. One from Charles Darwin, and he said that it's not the strongest of the species, not the most intelligent that survives. I chose this because I knew you were intelligent. It's the one that's the most adaptable or flexible to change. When we have moved from our countries back in Kenya, just changing to this country, just bringing roles, just raising kids who will ask you why. When you are growing up, they did what you were supposed to do without asking why. When you are growing up and they asked you to jump, you ask them how high. When you tell your kids in this country to jump, they say, why should I jump? Why not you?
Right.
When our sisters, this is for men, when our sisters cooked for us and our mothers and brought food to your table in the village back in Kenya, and even helped wash your hands and prayed for you before you ate, you come to this country, and even those who are in Kenya, and your wife says, I go to work too. And you're stressed out, and you want another wife. They are not different. They'll be the same. Why? Why do I say this? Because we don't understand that when change has come and life is dynamic, I want to be a creator of my new environment. I ask the question, what does this environment require of me right now? It may have required something else different for my parents and generations that have come before me. But in this generation, what is it that is called of me? One of them is called of me that I no longer have the privilege to be with my grandmother in the village and my grandfather to help me with my mental health. But there is another way that I can move into and get my mental health when I'm not okay. We are not the first generation not to be okay. Every generation that has been around here has not been okay, but they had ways of solving it. This generation is a denial generation. We have to go back and understand that it's okay not to be okay. The other one, to go back a little bit before, the other one is a bigger one for us. If we swallow this tonight, you'll sleep soundly. You'll sleep soundly. Carl Jung, one of the psychologists, said this, that thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life. Worse still, we take this step with the false presupposition that our truths and our ideals will serve us as either true as they've served us before. But we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning will be little in the evening. And what was in the morning true at the evening will have become a lie. When you were growing up, most of you are my age, 50s and above, it wasn't common for women to wear pants in Kenya, was it? Is it a problem today? What was true in the morning of my life has become a lie in the afternoon of my life. Only if we understand that will we begin to create a new environment. When we understand that it might not have been true for me to show weakness back then, in the afternoon of my life, it is okay, because that has become a lie. We might be living a lot of lies in our lives, and that's why we don't go for help when we need to go for help. And therefore, if you can go back and see, in this launching part that I'm suggesting to you, when we understand that it's only those who adopt to change, not the intelligent ones, when we understand that it's only those who understand what might have been true in the morning of my life, maybe not true in the afternoon of my life, then we can therefore say that we have the courage to replace intolerance with acceptance. And it's okay not to be okay. I can say I can replace my perfectionism with vulnerability. And I have the courage to replace judgment with grace. But above all, I can replace hiding with sharing. I can go out and share what ails me. Only then can I get help. If you can go to the next one. My considerations as I am good to the very last part of it is I think we can do this in three parts. The first part of it would be the individual, that we can have, again, the audacity, if I may use the words of Obama here, to identify life balances as an individual, at the individual level. I like what my friend Washira said in the morning, and I want to paraphrase that in a different way. I'd like for us to get to a point that we can say, if anything has to be, it starts with me. If we get to this point, especially as Kenyans, we will not be asking what the government will do for me. I think it was one of the presidents of this country that said, ask not what America can do for you. Ask what you can do for America. Ask not what people can do for us as scholars. Let's ask what we can do for other people. And this is the part I'm saying we have to be able to identify. We know ourselves. I like it when I see people come to see me in my private practice. And while they go around to tell me the truth, I know there's one person in this room who knows the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and that is them. When we come to that point, we can go back. We can set positive identities of ourselves, and we can remove the perfectionistic nature. We can have healthy boundaries and coping strategies. This will help us say, we understand some days we will not be okay. And it's okay not to be okay. But above that, the community has to come in. And this is when I say the next level becomes inter and intrapersonal acceptance. That when my brother, when my sister is not okay, I do not judge them. I help them get help. But I want to get to a point where as I go for my physical checkups every year, I want you to say, I'm not feeling right with my stress levels. I want to go see a helper. I want to go see a counselor. And number three, I think there is institutional action. This is where the rubber meets the road. And I'm glad we have leaders in this country and in this room. Why is this? Because unless things are sanctioned at an institutional level, we will not go too far. This is where we want to train more counselors and therapists. And from a training perspective, so that things can be okay, we want our kids to begin to understand that it's okay to go and talk to a therapist, a counselor, when they are in school. When they leave, we are not prepared. We do not have a private world for our kids. They're coming out into a very competitive, with more stressful things. When our kids wake up in Karachuonyo, where you come from, Ambassador, when they wake up in the morning, they serve the world. They come to Dallas before you wake up, and they see what is in Dallas. And so their stress levels are higher than what we are used to. I like it when we tell our kids, I went to school 10 miles without shoes. But you didn't have a choice. You didn't have shoes. There's nothing hard with choosing between nothing and nothing. But when your child has 10 pairs of shoes, it becomes a problem to make the choice. And telling them that you walk to school does not help them. They will ask what was wrong with you. So we need to go back and train our kids to understand that when you are not okay, they can share. Here, this may sound easy, but do not be deceived by the simplicity of it. Our children may not always do what we tell them, but make no mistake about it, they will do what they see us do. If we can model that it's okay not to be okay, they will follow suit. And then awareness becomes important from an institutional point of view. But in this room, we have a place for this. We can use this couple of research to identify challenges in our communities and come up with interventions that actually fit those very different challenges. When I see couples who come here and their mother-in-law has come to stay with them, an American raised here will say, what's your mother doing in your house for 5 months? But I will understand that where you come from, your mother will come and visit with you. I can tailor the interventions to fit your cultural background and understand that it's okay, you're struggling, but we can work that out. It's time for us to use research to raise people who understand who we are. Let's finish up, I think my time is gone. And therefore, as we finish, I want to say it's okay not to be okay, because you're first of all a human being. And seeking help is a strength, not a weakness. Most of you have EAPs, so EAPs for employment assistance programs. Your insurance can allow you to go see a therapist. But when most of the immigrants come and see me, they have not used their insurance for the last 10 years. Make use of the resources. Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. You are not okay not because you are weak, but because you are a human being. Mental health is intricately tied to individual and societal success. But I want to say this as I finish, that we have to wake up on the different side of the bed and have the courage to do things differently than we have done before. Helen Portia, and I'll read this poem here to finish up. Portia Nelson, in her autobiography in 5 short chapters, she was summarizing her life. And she said, chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It's not my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. but it's not my fault. It still takes me a long time to come out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit now. It's my fault. I know where I am. I get out immediately. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down a different street. Tonight, I invite us to walk down a different street. What we've been doing for a long time and assuming that it's not okay or it's not okay not to be okay has not paid dividends for us. I invite you to walk down a different street. I thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Boris. That was powerful. Actually, I've had several requests. People asked me that we can share that PowerPoint. That would be great. So tonight, like I said, our dinner was sponsored by World Remit, powered by World Remit. And what I found out is these two great people go to the same church. I discovered the secret. Those are my two good friends. But Risto, who sponsored our dinner tonight, and Dr. Bode go to the same church. Great place. We'll visit there tomorrow. World Remit through you. So again, thank you so much. Thank you. As the theme of the dinner today was Transfer Your Chance to Learn Award Ceremony. We have learned so much tonight. Thank you, Dr. Bode. Most of us in this room have transferred so many things. We have transferred information, our abilities, ideas, tools, documents, tasks, processes, money, time, just an endless. Let's continue doing that, and I've learned a lot of things that I'm going to do differently, especially when I deal with my students, myself, that it's okay not to be okay. So we truly appreciate that, and we thank you. We thank you. At this point in time, I would like to invite my wonderful team to come up. Hey, Rachel. Rachel, Dr. Moira, Patrick. Hey, please come. We said we have some awards to give before we invite our special guests to say something. We'd like to invite two ambassadors, Kessa Conference and Ambassador, to present these awards to our special people who have transferred so many things to our community. Your Excellencies, please come and assist our team. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. What a wonderful, wonderful speech and talk that we got, that it's okay not to be okay. I hope that you enjoyed the dinner and that we're ready for this next phase. All right, my task, as Geronimo has asked, is to present awards to our sponsors. As I think it has been evident all day today, everywhere I have gone, I'm being told mwenye pesa. So I will be out there with a big basket taking taking donations. But anyhow, we want to recognize our sponsors, and we are very thankful for all who have contributed to this wonderful event. And the very first certificate that we'll be awarding is going, and understand that this is our thanks to all of our sponsors. The first one is going to go to World Remit. So if we could have a representative from World Remit, come here. World Remit has done a great job of being a sponsor for this event. Thank you very much. All right, the next sponsor that we would like to recognize is our sponsors from Kenya. And the very first sponsor, that we want to recognize is Higher Education Loans Board. They traveled, they have moved through, they have moved everything to get here tonight. And we really want to thank you so much for your partnership. I know that this is an organization that does a tremendous job in really facilitating, making sure that all of our students, get what they need for higher education. So I will ask, Dr. Ringera, if you can wave, and then also we have Rebecca here to receive the certificate on behalf. And please, she had made a request. She has a beautiful, beautiful visitor's guest book. So make sure you sign it tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
During COVID days, in the additional one, this handshake.
Fungua ndio tuone. Ufungue ndio.
But you move too far away. Move in so that Ambassador Bukwesi can be seen with the treasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Our next sponsor is the Kenya Commercial Bank, KCB Group. And we also want to thank you so much for sponsoring this conference. And our contact there has been Ms. Rosalind Kialo. She was not able to be here this evening, but we will be hearing from KCB tomorrow. So I don't know who wants to receive this in absentia. Geronimo, do you? Okay.
They took care of me when I went to Kenya. They're good people.
All right, and then the next organization, this is a local firm, and this is the Opande Law Firm, and they generously contributed money towards our students. As we very well know, for those of us who've been, doctor students here, that students need quite a bit of funding, and so the Opande Law Firm generously contributed to our students. And again, I believe Mr. Opande is not here, but Patrick will receive it in absentia. All right. We also would like to recognize others who have contributed. Obviously, lots of people contribute financially, as well as also moral support. But we want to single out those who gave money to support student membership and enrollment this time. So we have Mr. Eric and Musi, and they are from Hillside Logistics. That would be the first sponsor. The second sponsor for students is Professor Emelida Ongeri, who is not here with us this conference, but she generously donated money. We also want to recognize KESID through Professor Gerono Rotich, and also recognize Professor Jonathan Choti. Jonathan Choti, where are you? If you can wave. Professor Jonathan Choti. We also want to recognize Professor Francis Coty. So Francis Coty, if you can wave. The man with the brown hat. Recognize Professor Choti for his contribution. And then also would like to recognize Dr. David Felix from the Chrysler Foundation. And the last person is yours truly. I don't want to say recognize myself, but I think I will take a picture. How about that? All right, thank you. So, I have nothing but a picture with, maybe this. How about that? With Kessa. Branding always. Thank you. Thank you.
You can sit.
No.
Sorry. This time we'll recognize a different group, and these are the founding fathers or the advisory board. We are the second team to lead Kessa, and they've always been there for us. So I'll just go ahead and call the name, and please come and receive your certificate. Okay, I'll start with Dr. Faith Minor. She served as the secretary of Kessa.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I took over from Faith, and she was very helpful when I became the secretary. The next person I'll recognize is Professor Francis Coty. Yeah, they were good. Professor Francis Coty also served as the secretary for Kessa. Thank you. Professor Charles Munyara, he was the treasurer and also the IT or the webmaster. Thank you. And lastly, Professor Kefa Otiso, the former president. Oh no. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ambassadors. Now you can have your seat. I have this opportunity to tell you at least to sit down now.
No, but I'll call them back. Sit down. I'll call them back.
Thank you very much. It's a very rare opportunity. Yeah. Okay, I take this opportunity to recognize the keynote speakers. And I would like to invite our founding fathers. There are four. So I want to invite one of them, the former president of Kessa, Professor Kessa Keffa. You Kessa and Keffa, they're all the same. Yeah, they're synonymous. Keffa, Kessa. Professor Keffa and Chancellor, please. I know here, the moment I saw Chancellor, I was like, I'm paid. Yeah, so they're going to help us recognize the key speakers. We really appreciate your presence, and we don't take that for granted. First one, the first keynote speaker we're going to recognize is Dr. Sambo. Thank you very much. The next one is Dr. Ashira. I'm sure he's not here because I'm not seeing him. He's not here. Yeah. So we go to the next person. The next keynote is Dr. Frederick. Thank you very much.
I think those are the only two. Shireen is not here, she's coming tomorrow.
We are going also to recognize Dr. Shireen Obara, who is keynote tomorrow. You don't want to miss that tomorrow. So, in absentia, can you give a round of applause? The next one, we want to save the best for the last. So, Ambassador, we are saving that for the last, before the speech. We recognize you. So, yeah, thank you very much, Founding Father President and Chancellor. Please sit down.
Okay. Forgive me, I'm going to ask Ambassador Mayo and PS to come up again because this is a very special team and I think they'll love to get a picture with you. Please come back again and present these special awards. These awards go to the Governing Council of Kessa. Like I said, these are people that have worked with me around the clock. We talk, we've had Zoom meetings, we've done together, wonderful, wonderful team. Our first member is Dr. Professor Penina Kamina. Please come. Penina has served as a regional board member. She's also served as a student. She's the one who's in charge of our representative students. And Penina is amazing. She's a math professor and a nurse. I don't know who does that. Math and nurse. So, Professor, we appreciate you. She's amazing, amazing. I'll call her Elder Penina. Yes. Our next governing board member, council member is Dr. Jonathan Choti. Dr. Jonathan Choti has served as a regional rep as well as a national organizing secretary. He's the one who organized all our Zoom sessions last summer during COVID. Again, I think this is special that we get that nice photo. Oh my. Good. Our next recipient is Dr. Peter Kimasop. Where is it? Dr. Kimasop is a regional rep. He's also the associate editor for the Kenya Studies Review Journal. They work every Saturday to make sure the journal is published. We appreciate all your support. And he's in charge of the entertainment tomorrow night, so don't miss out. Him and Penina, they're the ones who are in charge of entertainment. Okay. Our next recipient is Dr. Jeremiah Osaka. Dr. Jeremiah is in the house. He's a regional rep from Houston. He's also served as our social media specialist, all the things you see on Twitter, Facebook. This is the man who takes care of our social media. And he printed all our programs. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Very special young lady, very dear to my heart, takes care of me, very soft-spoken Dr. Rachel Donye, our secretary. Very special. She works very tirelessly. She's the one who sends all the emails, all the abstracts, all the letters. For those of you who got visas, they came from Rachel Donye, so all the emails, she takes care of us. Thank you so much, Dr. Our next recipient again, our next is again a lady who's very, very dear to my heart. I love them to death. She takes care of us. She's the reason why we are here today. She lets us know whether we have money or we don't. Dr. Wamwara, appreciate her. She is stuffed with money. You can't even get a penny. She says, Jerona, no. She is tough cookie. Yes. Now, Dr. Mose, where did he go? Dr. Mose? He stepped down. That is our vice president, our boss. I have a special award tonight. Is Mr. Gilbert Makomere here? Gilbert? Gilbert is my president. He's the president of the Kenyan Students in Diaspora, Kessa. Does an amazing job. He just does everything. He rallied all the students. He's a massive student from Oklahoma. Does an amazing job, brings all our students together. Actually, we have a Zoom session on Tuesday evening with the ambassadors, with the PS and the team from Kenya that is facilitating, is put that together. Thank you so much on behalf of all the students. We appreciate you. Oh, Mose, please. We have a great, wonderful young man. I call him young man. You're not young, you're old. Dr. Moses Ojanji, all the way from the state of California. California is in the house. He represents California. He's our assistant secretary. He actually did a lot on the program. Amazing. Tall man, when we need anything to be put up on the wall, is the one who takes care of our business. We appreciate you, Moses. Professor. Thank you. And then my boss is right here. He yells at me, I get in trouble, says, Jerona, what's wrong with you? But we all get things done. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Mr. VP. Thank you so much, Patrick Moses. Thank you so much. I didn't give myself a certificate on purpose, but I just want a photo with the two of you. Don't give me nothing. I just want a photo. Right here.
She did that deliberately, and I just discovered this morning that she did not write that certificate. But we really appreciate it. She's the mover of everything. She's a powerful lady. So let's appreciate her. She makes things work. So you can see it's evident. And we really appreciate you, Madam President.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you
so much.
We call it thank you for your service.
I'm going to invite Dr. Otiso. Please come, Dr. Otiso, real quick. Sorry. Which one is that?
You didn't say I was going to work so hard.
Mostly you took my stuff. See, that's what you We're missing something. Is there anything else? profile, warfare.
Yeah, nice application.
Yes, I'll give him tomorrow. Okay. All right. I would like Professor Otiso to give this special award to Iko. Okay, we're good. So before okay, yeah, we have some. I think we put them somewhere. We'll give those tomorrow. I would like to invite. Yeah. So I'd like to invite Ambassador Lazarus Amaya, and Dr. Otiso will present this. Dr. Otiso, Professor Otiso is a founder of Kessa. We call him the founding father. Actually, most of us, we say Kessa or Kefa. We always say Kefa Otiso, Kefa Association, because he was the president for 10 years? So we say Kefa, Kessa. It's all intermingled with. So we really appreciate you, Ambassador. We know that you came all the way from Kenya to be with us. We truly, truly appreciate your support. I know you've stood with us every step of the way. I don't take that for granted. And he finally figured out my name. He used to call me Dr. Rono. So he finally got my name right. So that is an accomplishment, Ambassador.
I didn't change her gender.
No,
because Cherono and Rono are two separate names. One J for female, Rono for the man.
So I told him my brother will get, he's a good friend of his. I said, I might have to get Kennedy to help me with this. And then our next one is PS Ambassador Simon Namkwesi. Thank you so much, Ambassador PS. I know I came to Kenya and he actually, let me tell you the story what he told me to PS when I called him in Kenya. I used to call him when I was in Kenya and he never picked my phone. So he said, you know what, your name shows up as Amzee from the village. You used to call him to ask for money for Busan. I don't know what happened. My Safaricom phone would show as Amzee from his village. So then I had to call Safaricom because they gave me a number that was used by somebody from Mukobukusu. So every time I call people, my name would show as that old man. So finally I changed it, then he picked my phone. So he picked my phone and I was able to visit them at their office. Wonderful, I really appreciate it with Lucas and Mr. Ogutu. Thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to invite, thank you so much, we appreciate it. And you will speak to us tomorrow again. At this time, I'd like to invite, sorry again, Ambassador, you're so tired of me today. Please come back and say something and invite your guests. You were supposed to invite your guests today, but it was not in the morning. So just say, Jambo, there are people who are not here, and then you can invite His Excellency Ambassador officially.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Salamia. Oje nikupangizie.
Oh, no problem. Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Cherono Rotich. Really, what else can I say? After Dr. Boris' presentation, which made most of us to go back to the drawing board and accept realities of the day, Ongera, and we thank God for making it possible for you to be able to meet with us this evening and make that presentation, which would go a long way in helping us accept the realities of the day, that it is okay it is okay when at times things are not okay, instead of hiding them. Ambassador Namkwesi has been out of Kenya coming to this function relatively very long duration. He took the 5 hours from Nairobi to the Middle East and was supposed to have taken another 15 hours to reach here. Yes, he took the 15, but before taking the 15, because of schedules of missing the previous flight, he had another almost 15 hours in that Middle East country. So you can imagine over 30 hours to be able to come and participate in this important event. P.S. Asante sana, nashukuru. And for those who are not aware, Ambassador Nabukwesi is not a stranger in this territory. He was Kenya's High Commissioner to Canada, an ambassador to Cuba, and at that time, not only Cuba, even other Caribbean countries. He went back to the headquarters and was quite instrumental in our Foreign Service Institute, which he transformed to Foreign Service Academy, an institution that we as diplomats in the ministry and the government very proud about, because it provides the linkage with other institutions. So he is not a stranger to the academic world. He was a principal. He was also principal of Kamsinga High School. Those days you used to know Kamsinga with high scores. That was Nabukwesi's time. And so him being at the Ministry of Education, particularly higher education, is not a stranger. And so, Balozi, if I was to be given a chance to speak, I'll speak for many, many more hours, and that is not what is required this evening. Kwa haya machache. And on behalf of all of us, we kindly invite you to please come forward. Natoa mawaidha kwa wananchi wa Kenya, wasomi, sio wanomi, wataalam. Kwa hiki gusini omosomi ama omosomi. So please come and address your people. This morning, when I had a chance to make my remarks, I specifically indicated that matters that relate to education, the loans board, since you are coming with Dr. Engera, you'll be able to handle those more effectively than myself. I cannot speak for education when you are here, because the Ministry of Education that I was an assistant minister to was over 20 years ago. You ni samani sana. But he's a friend and a colleague, now my boss, because he's now not a colleague, he's a PS, he's my boss now. Bwana PS, karibu.
I don't know if I can speak through my mask or I remove. Now that people are removing, I should remove. Professor Sharon Rotich.
Sanitize. Sanitize.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Lazarus Amayo, distinguished scholars who are also Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to be here today. I'm very happy I've listened to Dr. Sam Bore make a very inspiring and insightful presentation. That is, I want to refer to it as life-directing message to all of us and to those who will interact with us. It tells me that we are strong in our diversity when we are united, when we are brought together by a common purpose. You have traveled from different corners of this large country and gathered here for a common purpose. And I want to appreciate that you invited us to travel from Kenya to be here. First of all, we were not given visas in good time. We were delayed by 1 day. And then when we got the visas to travel, while in Nairobi, there are so many challenges in life, and there are so many people who look like they are well when they are not. The reason why we were delayed in Nairobi is that there was one drunk and disorderly passenger. We were and the person became very unruly until we left the runway and went back to get ordered before we were coming 2 hours. It took 2 hours, and it was a transiting passenger, not a Kenyan, a transiting passenger. Very unfortunate. So we reached Doha when our next flight just left. And the hotels were full. So we sat in the lounge for those 17 hours. But I'm very happy after listening to Dr. Bore, after I interacted with a few people informally when I arrived here, and I felt their sense of belonging to their country of origin, Kenya, and their desire to interact with us and support those they left behind through the Ministry of Education and through our institutions. It's very exciting, and I think it is very good that you chose to invite us, Professor Cherono, and it's good that we were given authority to travel. I'm here with the President of the Council of Vice Chancellors, Professor Muluvi. Please stand up and wave. Professor Muluvi is the Chancellor of Southeastern Kenya University, and he has been at this job for a very long time. He helps us so much. Recently, we will have had a problem in the ministry when UASU wanted to call a strike, a national strike, because of the negotiated salary increment that was not implemented in full. He went line of assisting us to negotiate, and we managed to defer the strike so that the government can do what it can do to make the lecturers comfortable as they work. Ladies and gentlemen, after Dr. Bore made such a nice presentation, I don't want to say too much, but I want to appreciate our ambassador. His Excellency Lazarus Amayo is also here. In protocol, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in diplomatic service, he is a very senior person, and he remains my senior. Dr. Boris said we are a human before we are where we are and what we are. And I always believe in that. Even the colleagues I work with, like Luke Chiroya right here, he knows that I don't believe in stratification of society. I believe in all of us being equal before God and being human before we are anything else. So that message was very good. It also reminded me, because we know so much, we read, we learn all the time, but how much do we practice what we learn that is useful to us? And it reminds me of what Mahatma Gandhi said, that an ounce of practice is better than tons of preaching. So there is so much that is said, but very little or nothing is done. And it also reminded me of what the great general of this land, of America, General Douglas MacArthur, said when he was making his retirement speech. He wanted a son who will be humble in victory, and a son who will face himself in defeat. But at the time when you feel defeated, you can still have the strength to face yourself, identify your points of weakness, rectify them, and advance to a higher level. That was a very good presentation, and it tells me how resourceful you are as people. You know, there is a guy called Alex Chamada who talks about daring abroad. Some of you may have read Jodie Craft's Muntu. If you read Muntu, there is the second son and other sons who left the home and went far away. And when they came back, they found that their father had died, and their first son, the eldest brother, had become the leader. And the second son was challenging him, telling him, "You are a stay-at-home brother. You never came out to struggle like we did. Who made you our leader?" In other words, he was saying, when you can dare abroad, you acquire more knowledge, more experience, and there is so much that you can also offer. You cannot be limited to that level where you were before you left. And so I always appreciate Kenyans who chose to leave the homeland, the comfort zone, to dare abroad and interact with other people, create another home, and therefore create more space back home for other Kenyans. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we created what we call the diaspora policy. The diaspora policy. And in Africa, it's only Kenya, South Ethiopia that have the diaspora policy. This policy, if implemented, ladies and gentlemen, will invite you to interact with the leadership of our country much more, so that you transfer knowledge, skills, the wealth of experience you have acquired out here, good practice, back to our country to improve Kenya. You sent us a very good gentleman with a nice person to pick us from the airport. He's called Kwame. And my friend Charles Ringera asked him, "How is Ghana?" And Kwame said, "Ghana is not as good, especially when you come from here to go to Ghana. You don't find Ghana to be as good." Then I said, "But in Africa, Ghana is rated as one of the very best democracies and fast developing countries." He said, "But not as good when I go there from here." What am I saying? What I'm saying is that your idea of inviting us and your president of Kessa, having come all the way to Kenya, to Nairobi, she worked with the University of Nairobi during her holidays. She did a lot of work. And she came to the office and went to other offices to inform us about this organization. I want to salute you for this great idea, Professor. In our policy, we wish to work with you professors who are out here. We wish to make you get involved in what we want to do at home to improve the lives of Kenyans. And through education, we can do much more. There's a time I traveled to Pakistan, and I realized that in Pakistan, you know, at the airport, at the customs, when they are checking your passports and so on, there is a place for diplomats. Usually, that's the queue that moves very fast. Yeah. In Pakistan, it doesn't. In Pakistan, the queue which moves very fast is the queue for the returning citizens. It's the queue for the returning citizens. They are highest valued in that country. They are more important than VVIP visitors going to Pakistan because they prioritize their people in the diaspora. What they bring back home in terms of good practice, in terms of knowledge and skills, in terms of ideas, is more enriching to that country. So we created and I want you to be interested in reading our diaspora policy. It provides for all these things. And we want to invite you to take advantage of the goodwill, and our president puts a lot of value on those of you who are living abroad. So I want to request, in the university education sector, we have come up with a lot of proposals and policies to improve standards of university education. Our biggest challenge at the moment is funding. There is so much of the competing interests. We have to improve our infrastructure. We have to improve our health. We have to improve housing for Kenyans. We have to improve food security. And we have to improve basic. Basic education is free up to day secondary education. It's free. And TVET education is highly subsidized. So when you come to this level of university education, you find that funding is flailing. It's not so stable, it's not predictable, and it doesn't appear to be given that priority. But we are at it, working with the Committee of Parliament, working with other stakeholders, with the vice chancellors, to introduce reforms. We are introducing partnership with other universities, particularly better ones. You know, in the ranking of universities globally, you'll find that we are somewhere, they are down. Somewhere, like recently, the ranking that was there recently, University of Nairobi is about number 500 and something. And we know that is the university number 1 in Kenya. Then others follow down there. We want to be globally competitive. You are lecturers, you are scholars interacting with the good institution country. We wish to invite your ideas. In fact, by the end of our stay and interact with you, we want to agree, and Professor Muluvia will support me, Mr. Ngera will support me. We will want to invite you at home in brainstorming session where you have proposed in order to improve standards of education in our country, standards of management of your universities. Because there are a few universities like Professor Muluvi's which are ever growing. There are other universities like Egerton which have collapsed. Yes, Egerton is not the Egerton that you used to know. It is down, more universities down. And there are others like Masai Mara University, which is on its knees, and so on. We want to improve universities. We are looking at University Act 2012, where Evala can only do 2 terms and go home. 2 terms or 5 years and go home, like in politics. But I don't find it quite good, because if you are so good and you are still strong and energetic, and you go home, and then we have the university, and somebody will continue until he or she completes the term, then we end up missing the real point that we want to have. And we also want to encourage some of you, like Professor Tiambe Zeleza, who taught me in undergraduate. He's from Malawi. He taught me in Kenya when he was a young person. Then he came here to America. He came back recently, 6 years ago, to be the Vice Chancellor for USIU. And then he has completed his coming back to America. We want to encourage some of you to also come and take leadership of our institutions when we advertise. We want to invite some of you to bring ideas that will help Higher Loans Board, which is under very good stewardship of Mr. Ngera. He has done a fantastic job. That is That is an institution that will have died like NSSF, like NHIF. You know, those ones are so weak. They're weaklings, like Kenya Airways, weaklings. They're not so stable. But he has kept it on the trajectory to progress. We would wish that you come in to assist us in COOPS, Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. And we are still hanging in the tragedy of Africa, where many people find in careers they don't like, careers where they are not gifted to add value, where they are not talented to perform as expected. As writer Madivamba Rukini said, the tragedy in Africa is that many people do jobs they don't like. So you are just there because it's a formal thing anyway. As you grow up in the cycle of life, at some point you must work. So people just do it as routine, as formality, but they don't do so well. But COOPS is trying, only that many students get misplaced. They find themselves doing courses they don't like. They'll want to change, but sometimes the changes don't come at the right time, or nobody considers them. We have the Kenya National Research Fund, whose funding has been going down. And you know the value of research, importance of research. We want to do better. We have the National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation. It needs to improve. We have the Kenya National Innovation Agency, whose CEO was to come with us. He got the visa today. So he's traveling. He'll be here, I think, by the end of tomorrow, if it goes well. Or you'll arrive when it's over. But you'll want to interact with some of you. It tells you the interest that we have in interacting with people, because there is so much that you can give to our expectations back in Kenya. There is so much that our with you can put on the table in the interest of our nation. I just want to appreciate that you have come together from different corners of this country in the spirit of feeling the sense of belonging to the same point of origin, and that is Kenya. Indians do a lot. Indians, even, you know, 6th generation, 10th generation, somehow they find time in a year to go back to their country of origin. And Indians are always Indians. When I was High Commissioner in Ottawa, Indians in Toronto were in 3 groups. There were those Kalasingas, there were those others, and there were the Goans. They always came together in different groups. They lived separately, very distinct groups, but they had that feeling that they came from Kenya. So particularly the Goans, who are quite a good number, will put on the Kenyan colors. You remember the green and white and red color necktie? The colors of the flag. You'll find all men in that necktie. And they'll play Fundikonde, Daudi Kabaka, and so on, and dance holding each other. And I used to find it very fascinating. I'm so happy, ladies and gentlemen, that you came together and you have very good, strong and focused leadership. I want to encourage you to keep it up. I'm also very happy that Ambassador Amayo is, you know, I've gone to different countries. Some countries it's as if we don't have an ambassador and a team there. But Ambassador Amayo has always stood out as a role model in our service to the nation. He's one of the that those of us who came in after him have always admired, and he has of faith, for value in what he does in this country. That's why he moved from London to New York to Washington. Because we wish you good health. And to maintain this good spirit, live with it all through so that people can see a role model in you. I don't want to say too much, ladies and gentlemen. There is so much that you are willing to share with us. And I want just to assure you that I'm a very pragmatic person. And I know that good ideas are the ideas that can assist us to transform our systems and make Kenya better so that we move towards making it a knowledge economy. So I will take your ideas. From here, whatever we have discussed here that I didn't write, I'm going to sit down and write. And we shall be communicating from now henceforth. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. May God bless you.
I told you you're in for a treat. I enjoyed my visit in the office. It was a blessing. I was blessed and I was empowered. And okay, so yes. So thank you again. We really appreciate our two great leaders here, Ambassador Amaya. We have no words to describe our appreciation. You're always with us. You're always there for us. We just appreciate you so much. There's a group, these are the certificates that I was looking for. My boss, Mr. Preva VP, can you come help me? So what I want to do is, I know we're almost done. I want to recognize a very special group. All the students in the house, please stand up. All the students. All the students in the house, please stand up. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Come back again. You know what? Tell us where you're from. I'm sorry, I missed the places sometimes. Tell us your name.
My name is Dennis Waswa. I'm a PhD student from the Louisiana State University.
Stephen Elombo, graduate diploma student, JFOT.
I'm Makubele Gilbert from Oklahoma State University.
We're coming back here. I want to challenge all professors to bring a student with you. Sponsor and bring a student. We got to do that. So bring a student with you next year. Those of you who sponsored students will be able to take care of the student competition. We'll be able to take care of them. So again, I'm begging you, bring your students, bring a graduate student. I have so many of them. I have about 600 students. We have 4,000 Kenyan students here in the United States. Please help us to sponsor them to men because they are leaders of tomorrow. I also want to recognize most of us are in higher institutions. I know we have some people from community colleges. Anybody who's teaching in a community college? Yes. Woo-hoo! Yes. Woo-hoo! That is another group. Please come back again. We want you to bring more. This is not just about people who teach in four-year colleges. We want to encourage that group, TVET. That's a good. So we really appreciate you being here.
Hi. Yeah, I was about to complain. I'm also a first timer. It's my first time here. I'm very excited about from all of you who spoke and also found my old friends, Penina and others, and old classmates like Janet. So it's extremely nice to be here. We feel at home. And our two ambassadors who are in the house, we really appreciate, and we are going to take you to your word of what you're telling us. Yeah, I teach in the Community College of Allegheny County, that's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I help international students. I have Kenyans too. I have a lot of refugees. and I work a lot with refugees from Eastern Africa. Honestly, I did not know when I was coming from home that I'm going to use a lot of Kiswahili in my life in this country. So don't ever take anything for granted. And I still have conversations even with Dr. Bore about, how to deal with some of their issues as refugees and everything. And I also mentor college students who are in the honors college at the University of Pittsburgh. So my work is more of transitional work from high school to college and also from college to graduate. So anybody needing that kind of mentorship and also for international mentorship for international scholarships. I'm an English teacher, and so I do essays and writing a lot. So those are my specialties, but otherwise I'm very excited to be here.
Any other first time person who are coming here for the first time? Yes. Yes, my pastor is right here. You want to listen to a great message every Sunday at 5 p.m. Go ready event where he does an amazing message. Always, and he prayed for Kessa. He prayed for Kessa. He did. That's why we got money.
Thank you, Pastor Dennis Ochieng. I'm born again. Grand Canyon University, Restoration Anglican Church, right in North Carolina. I'm glad to be here. God bless you.
Yeah, we ministered together in a global event Sunday and Thursday evening.
All right, so that is any other first timers in the house? Okay, now our visitors who traveled all the way from Kenya, with the exception of Ambassador who's already spoken. All our visitors from Kenya, those who came all the way from Kenya, yes, Karibu, just come up here for me. Karibuni, just come up here and say your name. Siwa nataka kusalamia mkono yako ya Ambassador America. Ambassador Maya. So we have, again, I really want to thank Lucas. Just come this way. We have we have Mr. Lucas Kundu Shiroya. Shiroya took care of us. He works with the Ambassador Kapatin. Come this way. Yeah. So just so this is Mr. Lucas Shiroya. Yes. Great man. He took care of us in Kenya. We communicated a lot in preparation for this visit. Salamia.
Jambo.
Yeah. Is that all? Yes, our next participant is Professor Geoffrey Mulubi, who is the Vice Chancellor of Southeastern University. Thank you again. We had great conversations with him. He was the first one to come here. So, Professor Tusalami.
Good evening. I'm very happy for the invitation and our peers who extended the invitation to us to come and with you. I'm sure we'll be talking more tomorrow, and we are very happy that we managed to come. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. They will be speaking tomorrow, and we are promising our work in Outpost University next summer to share him. Our next visitor is none other than Mr. Charles Wengera. So I'm really I've paid all my roads. If you have not paid your road, leave alone. Charles Wengera is the CEO of GALA. Utisalamia, I know you'll talk tomorrow, and he also sponsored us.
Yes, and I think this is the sixth time of sponsoring. We started with with Kessa. And yes, just to confirm that this, when I joined Help in 2013, one of the critical that we are trying to analyze is where the alumni have gone. something graduate research studies. And that is the time Kessa was starting both this. And there we planned with this. We never really knew what to do in terms of diaspora recoveries. By the time we were going to Ambassador Lazarus in UK, we were so sharp that it's not actually this a professional diaspora debt collector. But the simple message is this, that you must be able to give back so that your siblings who are high. But there is something to discover that we discussed about. There are some who are telling you they are being funded and you are carrying the shoulder and we are funding them. They are not dealing with you. Please be careful with this tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Rivera. We appreciate you. We have paid my loan, but my BB has not paid. So your pay is lost. And we're stuck.
I was surrendering myself.
Our next visitor is Miss Rebecca Oche. Rebecca Oche is also with us. Thank you so much, Rebecca. At least we can look at ambassador, so that is good. Thank you. Rebecca, just say hi to us and tell us what.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Rebecca Oiro. I'm the debt collector. So you
At least they're collecting. Last but not the least is Dr. Wahoma. Yes. Dr. Mercy Wahoma, who is the director, CEO of Director and CEO of Coops. You know, I had a lot about Coops when I went to Kenya. Anybody who has nieces or people who are going to university, my nieces were like Coops, and I figured out what it was finally. So, karibu sana, utusalamia and tell us the great work that you do.
ladies and gentlemen, I will say good morning. My name is Mercy Wahoma, CEO of Coops. We engage in placement of students into universities and colleges, student colleges in the country. We are the Ministry of Education. Glad to be here with you all.
Thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. This is a lot. I think this is the largest delegation we have from Kenya, so that really speaks volume. Let's take advantage, let's interact. Do not miss tomorrow's session. It starts at 9 o'clock. Do not miss tomorrow. We have great keynotes. We have 3 keynotes. We have Dr. Professor Nafuko. Yeah? Did I say that? Okay, I'll fix it. He actually is a speaker tomorrow. He has invited, he's actually taking our delegation to his university on Monday. Texas A&M Commerce Station. So he's actually offered and volunteered to host a big charade for our guests all the way on Sunday evening and Monday. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. You've done a lot. We appreciate you for coming. We have our guests who will be speaking all over. They have one panel, they will all be speaking, so make sure you come and interact. We have Shireen Obade, amazing lady. She's the Dean of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. And Dr. Angie at UNC Greensboro. They just got a $25 million grant, so come and learn. She's talking about the networking. She's amazing. And then we have business meeting. And then we have a great evening, network, music, dance, whatever you want to do, exercise. You also need to exercise. So we have a busy and a lot of fun. So do not miss. Thank you again. We have really enjoyed World Running. Just, we would like some more dinner tomorrow. So we can do some more dinner tomorrow. Everybody down, so we can get some more dinner tomorrow. They might consider it again tomorrow to give us some dinner. Thank you this way, World Running. We appreciate our Lord and come visit their tent tomorrow. We good? Bossman?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very difficult to speak after the president because she's the ultimate authority. After she speaks, no one speaks. So I just want to appreciate all of you. Like, I wish we had certificates for everyone, but for obvious reasons, we promise next time we'll give you certificates. Tomorrow we have a very good session. Don't miss. Tomorrow, if make sure you come with us to dance. The evening dance. Yes, the evening dance is going to be fiery. And Dr. Penina. Yeah, so if you have a favorite song that you want to play tomorrow, get in touch with Professor Penina.
So we can see.
So we have social working opportunities tomorrow evening. We are done tonight. Tonight we are done. But you can hang around if you want to network again before you sleep. So there is another opportunity tonight. Good night, everybody.
We have what is it called? The rappers from one woman. You never know you may have one, and then they have somewhere like Pastor Chen. Well, then please come on. Okay, you pick it. Wait, don't make me do the name. This is Sheila, the amazing.